Welcome back to G.A.M.E.R Unite. I'm your host G.A.M.E.R here, and 5 years after its first release, Ubisoft and Nintendo have decided to once again partner up and collide the world of Rabbids and the Mushroom Kingdom for the sequel to Mario + Rabbids Kingdom Battle. Mario + Rabbids Sparks of Hope is an action-adventure, turn-based strategy game, and as someone who never properly got into the first game, I went into this game with multiple questions, concerns, and doubts. Did it captivate me like it did to the fans in 2017? Well, that's what we're here to discuss. You know the drill. We'll get started with the good, talk about the mix, and finish with the bad and see my results in the end. With that being said, let's jump in with the good. And right off the bat, what I think is so great about this game is it perfectly meshes the Mario feeling with turn-based strategy gameplay. That's the biggest takeaway, and that is my favorite thing from this game, and that is the gameplay. The turn-based combat is everything you would want from a game like this. It's challenging to the point where you have to restart the mission over and over again to figure out a way to win. It makes you think with clever and creative playing fields and objectives to win. It's exciting and visually pleasing, from the animations of supers to the sweet special effects from the character weapons. And that's also something really great about the gameplay, and that is the characters. The characters are so different and exciting, and they really did add some really good choices when it comes to the characters that they decided to include. But that being said, back to the Mario feeling. The feeling of jumping on heads, sliding, collecting items, platforming gave it that great Mario feeling while also being its own thing. I never, like, there were a lot of times where I kind of forgot I was playing a Mario game, but then when I remembered it was Mario, I'm like, yeah, this really is a Mario game. But then there's other times you're like, I forgot I was playing Mario, because it really does a great job at diversifying what makes a Mario game, what makes a Rabbids game, and what makes this game. It feels like everything, and it also feels like its own thing, and that's what's so exciting. You don't have to be a Mario or Rabbids fan to like this game. You honestly don't really have to be into strategy that much to enjoy this game. It is a fun, challenging, exciting, and very gripping game to get a hold of. The best thing about the gameplay, though, is its progression. No doubt in my mind, one of my biggest concerns heading into the game was that the gameplay would get repetitive, boring, but it was the opposite. Because of progression, the game constantly got better and better and improved after every mission from start to final mission. The gameplay is incredible when it comes to progression. From the very first mission to the final mission, like, the gameplay is miles different. Like, if you record footage of me when I played the very first mission and compared it to my gameplay in the final mission, you wouldn't even be thinking I'm playing the same game, because you do so many different things, learn so many new strategies, and come up with so many great team combinations by the end, and unlock so much more, that it is like the start of the game times 2,000. It's absolutely amazing. And also, to add on top of this, the skill trees and the loadouts that you're able to utilize and unlock throughout the game is awesome. The skill tree is actually something that I found myself enjoying so much, because you get to do skill trees for every single character, and they're wildly expansive, to the point where you have multiple choices and you really don't know which one you want, because they're all going to be super beneficial and they're all really, really good additions to have for your character. Add that up with different, of course, multiple characters and different combinations, and one of my favorite additions to the game, and that is Sparks. I think Sparks just added an extra layer of fun and diverse lineup of extra moves, character loadouts, combinations, all of that. Like it really is the creme de la creme of gameplay. Like, it is so good. That's not even to mention the enemy variety that makes every single battle interesting. Certain enemies just really just change up the whole strategy, change up the entire mission. It's really awesome. Apart from the combat though, and the primary gameplay, the exploration and level designs were handled very beautifully. In fact, one of the biggest surprises of this game to me were actually its puzzles. They were challenging and thoroughly thought out, but never really took too much time or dragged on. They were simple to solve, but still made you think. Some puzzles that stuck out to me were the water geysers in the cave and connecting the wires on the ground in that wasteland. You had to do so many different steps, but it was pretty straightforward, but it took so many different steps, and it really did make you think for most of the time. So I definitely left feeling like the puzzles definitely came in stronger than I even thought they would. I wasn't even sure there was going to be much of that, but there indeed was, and I'm very happy for it because I think it was a really great choice and great game design. The exploration for the most part was good. I'll talk about exploration a little bit later. There's plenty of great game design elements in here, like the yellow scan and the purple blast that make certain objects activate. So I definitely think most of the exploration was good. You do definitely get to go to a lot of areas, and that also has to do with the story. And let's just move on to the story. And the story's in good, because the story is what you get when you decide to play a game with Mario and Rabbids. All right, it has great humor, fun cutscenes, and some cool moments from characters. One thing I have to credit the story for, which definitely a big prop and definitely a stronger point for most of these kind of games' story, is connecting the characters that you meet throughout the game. There's so many games where you just unlock a character because they want the gameplay to be bigger, so they add another character to the roster, but it doesn't make sense story-wise. It is kind of just filler. It's just because they need more content. In this game, that's not the case. Every time you meet a character, whether it's a playable one or even not playable one, like the Spark Hunters or the antagonists, they all matter to what the game is trying to tell you, like in terms of story and in terms of gameplay. When you unlock Bowser, your whole game plan switches because he is completely different from everyone else. And you kind of, like, there are some missions where you have to play as certain characters because they mean something to the story. Like when you meet Edge, she ends up becoming like one of the main characters, and she's somebody you unlock midway through the game. Like I said, Bowser becomes a huge character once you unlock him. It really is a really clever and really thought out take on characters in a game, and I really do think they nailed it. That I forgot about Rosalina. The whole game is based on Mario Galaxy, and so Rosalina had to be in it, and they handled Rosalina great. She came in and she had some rivalries with some antagonists, and it was great. But yeah, I said Spark Hunters. The Spark Hunters were great additions. Were kind of like the main antagonists apart from the main villain. And actually, speaking of the main villain, I think the main villain was a really cool concept and was definitely a more memorable antagonist from this year and of recent years. Like the whole plot twist at the end, if you didn't realize it beforehand, it was kind of a cool plot twist. I personally had no idea beforehand, and so I was pleasantly surprised. I kind of got it spoiled though due to a friend, but that's okay. I'm not gonna take off the game for that. But yeah, we are talking about Mario, and we cannot forget to mention the music / OST. And yes, it slaps. It absolutely slaps, especially the battle music. Oh yes. One of a turn-based game's greatest strengths is battle music, and Mario plus Rabbids is nothing short of incredible. It knocked it out the park. Its battle music is great. All the areas we travel to are very diversive in their appearance and all bring unique set of exploration and music on that note. And really, the visuals in general, of course, just looked great. But that shouldn't really come to a surprise because, I mean, we're talking about Mario animation here. And, yeah, I mean, you get what you get. And you definitely don't throw a fit because it is great. There were some great surprises, like the Comet Observatory at the very end. And Rosalina, of course, being the main antagonist. Unfortunately, I did get that spoiled. And throughout my entire playthrough, honestly, I never really experienced any like major bugs, and can confirm that the game was extremely polished. I never found myself bored. I never felt the game dragging on. I always was very eager to keep on playing and keep on seeing what's next until the very end. That being said, the game has quite a few issues that I definitely want to talk about. But first, let's get to the mix. Things that I feel like could have been improved on, but aren't necessarily bad things. I think could have just been improved, or maybe I would change a couple things. But for the most part, I'm okay with it, and nothing is dragging the game down because of it. And I think my biggest mixed feeling I had with the game is some of its RPG elements. Now, I know for some of you, you probably could care less. I know I know one person personally who will look at it and just say mid, because that's all he does. But truth be said, this is kind of an RPG game, and I never found myself wanting to go talk to people. For the simple fact that every time I would talk to somebody, the character and dialogue would be like very minimal and mean very little to the game's story or just really anything. It was kind of just, hey, let's go talk to somebody for kind of no reason, unless it was a side quest. And then I will say there was actual use, but there were so many characters that I just went up to and started talking to, and I was like, okay, sure. Luckily, that's not the primary focus on the game, and can easily be avoided and still enjoy the game otherwise. And that's why it's in mix, is because for somebody who, for the most part, did avoid them because I just didn't really care for them, I still enjoyed the game as much as I did. And it's not a primary focus of the game, so it's not something that should bring the game down. It's something that I feel like should be improved, because it's okay where it is, and there's definitely room for growth. So it's in mix for that. However, later on in the game, they do get rid of like certain types of objectives, so certain missions have an objective: either defeat all the enemies, do a certain thing, blah blah blah, defend, go. And there was like there's one specifically that really caught my eye, and that's reach the area. There's certain missions where you have to reach a certain area, and that kind of just vanished halfway through the game. Like it was an objective that you would do very commonly, and then like halfway through the game they were like, yeah, we're just not gonna do that one anymore. I don't exactly know what the choice was behind that. I mean, it wasn't like my favorite objective or anything, but I don't know, I found it kind of weird that they would just stop doing certain objectives, or there would be some objectives that were just like one and dones. So I feel like they could have spread those out a little more evenly, and maybe just diversified them a little bit more. There were a couple characters I ended up like almost never using though. I know I was talking about how great characters are, and they all are different and great, but there are a lot of, I think there's balancing issues, because there are some characters that you just know are way more overpowered. Because there were just some that I didn't feel brought as much to my team as other characters. That being said, that doesn't mean I think the characters were bad or anything. It's just for the way I was playing and with the strategies that I was using, there were some characters that kind of just seemed useless. Now, maybe that was the point. Maybe depending on the way you played, they wanted certain characters to feel useless to make the other ones feel stronger. And that's why it's in mix. Because while I do wish I wanted to play other characters, I ended up not really feeling that way. And that's okay. It's just okay. But yeah, it never posed a problem to me. I just wonder if there was maybe a better way to handle it. I do wish there was some more character customization, like maybe some armor sets or perks. Characters have some passive abilities, and sparks do serve as a great, like, kind of type of perk, but I think it would be cool to add like expansive perk systems for each characters, and you can assign them, because sparks kind of are just a usable ability. They're not perk I mean are like things in the background that buff or heighten your character. So I think that would be really cool. I'm just kind of getting creative here. That's why it's a mix, because I think it could be creative. I think it was a missed opportunity, especially for armor. I think armor could have been really cool, especially for a sequel. Adding that in would have been really nice. And then my last mix thing is that a lot of items I used throughout the game were the same ones over and over again. I'm sure if I decided to use the other items, they would be fun and cool, but in the end, I didn't feel like it was necessary or to use my coins to buy these items that I didn't feel like would really help me or were really needed. So, yeah. Moving on to the bad. While there is a lot of good and some mixed things that didn't sit well with me, there are some things that definitely did not sit well with me. And I hate to say it, one of them was actually the final boss. The final boss. While the story hit hard in the end, I think the final, like, the whole final segment really hit well with story and everything. I think the actual final battle was very underwhelming. There were some great moments with like cinematics and cutscenes and like area switches, stuff like that. But ultimately, the battle and the gameplay itself just didn't really land for me. For most of the battle, I kind of just rushed all my characters up to the front and attacked the boss while ignoring like everything else on the playing field and every other enemy, and I never got killed once. Yes, if I wanted, I could have fought the other enemies, but bottom line is, for a final battle, that shouldn't even be an option. Fighting the other enemies felt unnecessary and useless, and there's just, it was the easiest thing. Honestly, the final battle was probably the easiest battle in the entire game. And that should definitely not be the case for something like that. Also, there are 5 different areas in this game, and every area follows the exact same pattern when it comes to the main quest. There are 2 quests, and they're either climb up to the top or activate the certain thing every single time. If there was anything repetitive, it was that. That's the only part of the game that I found repetitive, and that was that, all right, I finished this area, let's go to the next one that looks different, but you're basically doing the exact same thing, except for the battles and some of the puzzles. That's literally it. So I definitely feel like I wanted a more diverse group of quests. But again, these are just things that I definitely think could be improved, that definitely didn't sit well with me, that I would take points off for. So yeah, but apart from that, I don't really have very many other complaints. There were a couple of visual glitches and just rough things, but for the most part, it was very polished. So yeah. Moving in to my results, while there are some design elements I think that could have been more refined or didn't sit well with me, I cannot deny nor take away how incredibly fun the gameplay was. I enjoyed a 20-hour experience with very little bugs and still have plenty of side quests to do. And let me just say this, you know I've loved the game when I've legitimately wanted to buy DLC for this game. Even though the DLC hasn't even been released, I went on the store and looked because I wanted DLC. I enjoyed the game so much, I am actually very excited to see what the Season Pass offers because I want to play more. Like, I think this game is just great, so much that I want more. And that's something I can't say for a lot of games. So yeah, the story may be simple, but it's effective and exactly what it should be. It's a story of unlikely heroes against a galactic threat with some epic moments along the way. In a game where two unlikely franchises come together to create a family-friendly game that is truly special. This is without a doubt one of my favorite Switch games to date and a Game of the Year contender for me, to be honest. Don't overlook this game. Don't doubt it, because I think you'll find there's plenty of high-quality fun and adventure to be had in Mario + Rabbids Sparks of Hope. I'm giving this, for a personal score, a 9.5 out of 10, a critical rating of 87 out of 100, and my tier would be S, and bringing my overall score to 9 out of 10. Thank you all so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, definitely leave a like, leave a comment section down below provided. Let me know what other games I should review. I'm going to continue to cover some of the new releases as well as some of the ones that happened earlier on in the year just to get caught up with this new review style. So thank you all so much for watching. This is G.A.M.E.R Unite. G.A.M.E.R signing off. Have a good one. Peace.